In this video, I want to try and answer a question that I got asked the other day, which is how fast do I think bass move up into shallow water during the springtime? We are here in February, and really throughout March and April, you're gonna have a lot of fish start pushing up shallow. So in this video, we're gonna talk real specifically about how fast those fish will move shallow. Now, before we get into it, this video is brought to you by my apparel company, Fin Fishing. And as many of you guys know, I recently came out with a new product over at Fin Fishing, which is this hat that I'm wearing right here. This is the all new duck hat. It's a waterproof, highly durable, lightweight hat. It's one that I've been working on for a long time. I've been wearing one for a long time as well. And this hat, to me, it's a very good hat when it comes to fishing because it can withstand a lot of the elements that us fishermen put it through. So anyways, right now I do have an introductory sale going on the hat for basically the next few days until the end of February. So if you guys would like to help support this channel, click that link down below, shop at Fin Fishing. I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's talk a little bit about how fast these bass move into shallow water in the springtime. Now, the first thing that I should definitely 100% say is that not all bass do the exact same thing at the exact same time. There are going to be bass that get into shallow water a lot quicker than others. There's going to be ones that lag behind. There's going to be ones that never even get as shallow as we think. There are bass out there that will spawn on the main lake. They will spawn in areas, very confined, small areas that are shallow enough that sunlight can get to them, but it's on the main lake. And so over the last several years, kind of my mind has changed a lot, especially with just the more that you learn about bass fishing. And there's definitely a population that will stay out. Now, as far as fish that are moving up shallow, like I said, over the years, I truly believe that bass kind of went from like main lake structure where they go in the winter and they kind of meander on up into the creek arms and into the little pockets and bays to spawn. Now, there is definitely a group of fish that does exactly that. They kind of go along a highway to get back to where they're going to spawn. And along the way, they'll stop at a couple of places. If you can find those places, these are what we call staging areas. And these are great areas to find bass. And so those fish might take a little while though, as that water temperature warms, to make it from the main lake to the very backs of these areas where they're going to spawn and be in shallow water. But what I have found is that there's also a population of bass that stay pretty shallow year round. No matter how cold the water temperature gets, they are going to stay in a lot of these creek arms. They're going to stay in a lot of these bays. You know, if you really think about it, you know, even if your lakes freeze over, like a lot of the ones that I fish, they freeze over. A fish might only have to be in 4 or 5 foot of water to basically kind of stay in a good zone for itself. You know, like they don't have to all move out to main lake structure. And a lot of them will actually stay fairly shallow. And I've brought this up before, but I remember a number of years ago, the pond that I grew up in, it was shallow and it was very clear. And I remember seeing bass, you know, although there was some 10 and 12 foot of water in this pond, I remember seeing bass through the ice in like 4 foot of water. And so all bass don't have to go very, very deep during the winter months. You will have some that are already shallow by the time that the ice comes off the water. And every year I notice that more and more fish can be caught in shallow water quicker than you think because they are already there. These are just shallow water bass. I mean, just last year, it was really interesting to me because this was like 2 days after the ice had completely left a lake that was nearby to me. And it was one of those random, really warm days where it got to like 60 degrees out, 64 degrees out, something like that. And I was filming a video out on the water, but I wasn't doing a whole lot of fishing in this video because I thought it was a little bit too soon and it was really windy. So I decided to go way back into this pocket to kind of get out of the wind. And when I got back in there, there was this one little area that it was kind of like a pocket off of the main pocket, if that makes sense, very subtle, and there's a little bit of shade in it. And I happened to see like some pecking already on the surface. I went over there and I realized there's a bunch of bluegill right here. And as I'm like looking, I'm like, man, these bluegill are already way back here. And sure enough, as I'm sitting there looking at the bluegill, I see about a 2.5 pound bass just swim by. And the water temp at this point, where I was like 41, 42 degrees. So it had risen, you know, it wasn't in the 30s, but those fish were already way back in that area. And really, to me, those fish had probably been pretty close. They had probably been those winter fish that stay in pretty shallow water. And what they were trying to do was get into a little bit warmer water. You know, we had a lot of warm weather that day, and probably that surface temp really got pretty warm, and those fish were just creeping up, kind of sunning themselves in warm water. And so I have seen this on a lot of different lakes, and it really depends on if you have a lot of sunshine that day, because that sun will really, you know, the radiation really warms up that top layer. And so, long story short, which it's already been a long story, typical me, bass will move up into shallow water really, really quick because there's already a group of fish that are already there. And as I talked about just the other day, sometimes these fish that do move up into shallow water, the ones that are catchable quick, I'm telling you, sometimes they are the biggest bass that live in our lakes and in our rivers and in our ponds. Those ones that move up first. And like I said, I feel like it's like a pregnant woman that is just ready to go, and they're ready to have this kid. And I think that sometimes those big bass are very similar. They're just ready to push up and get into shallow water. And so just be on the lookout for that, especially if you have a little bit of off-color water. You know, I like to target off-color water more in the afternoon as that water temp really warms, but that off-color water will push fish in the shallow water even quicker because of how fast it warms up. So guys, I hope this kind of answers that question. And guys, ask any questions you got. I'm still working through a big list of questions that I got on a video a while ago. And anyways, it's probably going to take me the entire year to go through all those because I got way more responses than I thought. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you tomorrow.